May 10th, 1996 was just a normal day on Mount Everest as four distinct groups embarked on their journey to conquer the summit. Among them were teams led by renowned figures like Rob Hall from Adventure Consultants and Scott Fisher representing Mountain Madness. Additionally, the Indo-Tibetan Border Police and a Taiwanese expedition were part of this ambitious endeavor. Little did they know, this day would etch itself as one of the darkest chapters in the mountain's storied history, forever altering the lives of those involved in what would unfold as a catastrophic event. Welcome to Lucky Life. Today, we are talking about the Mount Everest disaster of May 1996. It is one of the single deadliest days in the recorded history of the world's tallest peak. We will recount the expedition taken on by two groups of mountaineers that ended in the death for 8 climbers. How did such a disaster happen? Well, let's get started. Mistakes. The bustling atmosphere on Mount Everest that spring was undeniable, with expeditions hailing from Taiwan, America, New Zealand, South Africa, and beyond, all converging on the iconic peak. This overcrowding became the first element contributing to the tragedy. Additionally, the commercialization of Everest played a pivotal role as teams vied for attention and prestige, fueled by a desire for publicity. Notably, Adventure Consultants, AC, and Mountain Madness, MM, each boasted notable figures. Another factor emerged when leaders Rob Hall and Scott Fisher opted to collaborate on a joint summit attempt, a decision that involved assigning a Sherpa from each team to set fixed ropes. Lobsang Jongbu from MM and Ang Dorje from AC were chosen for this crucial task. However, on summit day, Jongbu deviated from the plan, prioritizing assisting Pittman's slower ascent over setting ropes with Dorje. The consequences of the ropes not being set reverberated as a bottleneck formed near the summit, impeding progress for all climbers. Despite a designated turnaround time, delays persisted due to the bottleneck, affecting even experienced climbers like Krakauer. Eventually, Anatoly Bukriv and Neil Beetleman took charge of rope-setting duties, be it with considerable delay and effort. Staying long at the top. As the climbers ascended, unaware of the brewing storm below, guides faced a crucial decision: whether to turn back before the designated 2 p.m. turnaround time. Despite the likelihood of missing the summit window, guides like Rob Hall and those leading Scott Fisher's team chose to press on, marking another factor contributing to the tragedy. Ahead of the line, some climbers, like Krakauer, reached the summit and commenced their descent, passing by teams still ascending, inadvertently heading into the impending storm. Anatoly Bukriv, known for his tendency to forge ahead independently, broke away from the group once again, sparking friction with Fisher over differing philosophies on guiding. On May 10, 1996, Bukriv climbed solo, neglecting his role as head guide to assist climbers up or down. Despite his earlier disagreements with Fisher, his decision to abandon the team worsened their descent, leaving them ill-equipped to face the impending storm. Bukriv's rationale for his solo ascent revolved around his belief that climbers should be self-reliant, though it conflicted with the role of a guide. His swift descent left the MM team vulnerable, deprived of his expertise and supplemental oxygen, which could have accelerated their descent. However, Bukriv later asserted that he descended early to be prepared for potential rescue efforts, showcasing a glimpse of foresight amidst the tragedy. While Bukriv's actions may appear questionable, his readiness to assist in the aftermath deserves acknowledgement. Ultimately, his energy and preparedness proved vital in the chaotic aftermath, positioning him as one of the few capable of offering aid to stranded climbers in Camp 4. The storm. The harrowing storm cast its dark shadow as evening approached. Client Doug Hansen, with Rob Hall's unwavering support, finally conquered the summit around 4 p.m. However, their triumph was short-lived as Hansen collapsed, and Hall, displaying unwavering loyalty, refused to abandon him. Tragically, they found themselves stranded on the treacherous south summit, engulfed by the storm. Meanwhile, below them, members of both the Adventure Consultants, AC, and Mountain Madness, MM teams were also trapped by the storm, a mere 600 feet from the nearest camp. guide Neil Beetleman, who exhibited almost superhuman strength, tirelessly assisted in dragging 5 climbers down the perilous South Ridge. With unyielding determination, he guided Sandy Pittman, Charlotte Fox, and Tim Madsen from the team, along with Yasuko Namba and Beck Weathers from the AC team, battling ferocious winds and blinding snow. He persisted, even resorting to physically dragging anyone who hesitated until he reached a relatively safe spot. Then, with the storm raging persistent, Beetleman set off alone for Camp 4 in a desperate search for aid. Amidst the relentless fury of the storm, Anatoly Bukreev attempted daring rescues of stranded climbers. He managed to save Sandy Pittman, Charlotte Fox, and Tim Madsen from his team. However, the fate of AC climbers Yasuko Namba and Beck Weathers seemed sealed, deemed beyond rescue. Beck Weathers later narrated this chilling ordeal in his book, Left for Dead. Disaster. As night fell, tragedy unfolded on Mount Everest. Doug Hansen succumbed to the elements, followed tragically by Rob Hall the next day on the unforgiving South Summit. Hall's guide, Andy Ferris, fell victim to hypoxia and met a similar fate. Hall, enduring 2 nights and part of a 3rd day, valiantly communicated with his pregnant wife via satellite phone, bidding her a tearful farewell, his touching last words echoing in the desolate landscape. "Sleep well, my sweetheart. Please don't worry too much." The bodies of Andy Harris and Doug Hansen were lost to the mountain, while Scott Fisher's remains, tied by his Sherpa, Lobsang Jongbu, were eventually recovered. Hall's body, however, remained on the south summit briefly before plummeting 12,000 feet to the mountain's base. In a touching tribute, Anatoly Bukreev discovered Yasuko Namba's body and erected a cairn to shield her from scavenging birds. Her husband later funded an expedition to bring her remains down from the mountain. Miraculously, Beck Weathers survived, chronicling his harrowing ordeal in Left for Dead. His wife, Peach, orchestrated a groundbreaking rescue mission that defied convention, leading to the first ever helicopter landing above Camp 1 to save his life. Despite his survival, Weathers suffered severe frostbite, losing his nose and multiple fingers. John Krakauer and Anatoly Bukreev penned their respective accounts in Into Thin Air and The Climb, shedding light on the tragic events. Other climbers, including Sawang Samanla, Dorje Morup, and Sewang Paljor, perished in the storm. Paljor, nicknamed Green Boots for the distinctive lime green footwear he wore at his death, found an unwitting role as a macabre trail marker for climbers for 2 decades. An outpouring of gratitude was extended to Bukreev and Neil Beetleman for their heroic efforts in the face of adversity. Beetleman's relentless determination saw him single-handedly guiding climbers to safety until he could go no further, while Bukreev's bravery saved the lives of 3 of the 5 climbers he encountered. The memory of this tragic event lingers in the mountaineering community, a stark reminder of the inherent risks. In the annals of mountaineering history, the events of that fateful day remain vivid, underscoring the fragility of life amidst the unforgiving peaks. 8 climbers were lost on Everest during this disaster. So, was there something that could have been done differently to avoid such a disaster?